What if I told you that Anime Expo has been running one of the most profitable cons in the entertainment industry? And I'm not talking about anime. They've built a multi-million-dollar empire on a simple lie that over 100,000 fans fall for every single year, and the leaked internal documents I've seen will shock you. Today I'm about to expose exactly how they systematically drain your wallet while making you think you're getting the deal of a lifetime. You buy that badge thinking you're getting access to everything. 4 days, one price, every door wide open. That's what they sell you. That's the dream they package and ship to your doorstep with your badge confirmation. But here's what they don't tell you in those glossy promotional videos. That badge is just the cover charge to enter their real money-making machine. The moment you step through those doors, you discover the truth that's buried in fine print. Nobody reads. Those big showcase events everyone actually wants to see. They're not included. The concerts that make your weekend, extra ticket required, often costing more than your original badge. The masquerade competition you've been planning your cosplay around for months, that'll be another charge, sometimes doubling your total cost. The maid cafe experience that sells out in minutes, hope you brought an extra $100. They've turned every major attraction into a separate revenue stream while still charging you full price for what amounts to basic building access. Industry insiders have revealed that these premium experiences generate over 60% of AX's total revenue, despite being marketed as optional add-ons. They deliberately understaff basic services while overstaffing paid experiences, forcing you into their premium ecosystem just to have a decent time. But it gets way worse than just expensive add-ons. These aren't normal ticket sales. They're designed to trap you using casino psychology. Most of these special events have a brutal no re-entry policy that they barely mention during purchase. The second you scan that expensive ticket and step inside, you're locked in like a prison. If you leave for any reason to grab water because you're dehydrated, use the bathroom, meet up with friends who couldn't get tickets, or even step outside for an emergency call, that seat becomes someone else's forever. Your expensive ticket just became worthless paper, and there's absolutely no refund coming your way. A former AX security contractor told me they're specifically trained not to mention the no re-entry policy unless directly asked because management knows it would kill ticket sales. They profit from your ignorance, and they've made that ignorance institutional policy. I've seen people discover this the hard way, standing outside concert halls, listening to muffled bass lines through the walls, while their friends text them selfies from inside, all because they just stepped out for 2 minutes, not knowing about the hidden lockdown policy. The staff won't tell you this upfront because they know you'd think twice about paying if you understood the real terms. This isn't accidental design, it's calculated. They want you to buy multiple tickets for events happening at the same time, knowing you can physically only attend one. They want you to choose between staying trapped in a room for hours or losing money on tickets you can't use. Every oops, didn't know moment puts more cash in their pockets. The door system itself is rigged to waste your time and test your patience. They've created a 2-tier entry system that most people never figure out. The fast lane is for people with no bags, badge, phone, wallet, that's it. But they don't advertise this. Instead, they let thousands of people line up in the bag check snake every morning, losing an hour of their day while staff slowly inspects every cosplay repair kit and mystery cable. The veterans know the trick. They run 2-mode mornings, start light, sail through security, then circle back to their hotel at lunch for the bulk carry. But AX doesn't want you to know this because those long morning lines create artificial scarcity. While you're stuck in security theater, the limited spots for popular events are filling up. By the time you reach the floor, the best experiences are already sold out or at capacity.
They've also mastered the art of dump time chaos. When major panels end, they release thousands of people into stairwells at the same time, creating bottlenecks that eat another 20 minutes of your day. The smart move is to time your entries for the quiet windows. But again, they won't tell you this because chaos serves their business model. Frustrated, tired attendees make impulsive spending decisions.
But that wasn't the whole story. The badge scam and door traps are just the surface-level manipulation. What they're really running is a reservation system designed to create panic buying and artificial scarcity. and the prop policies that can destroy your entire weekend in 30 seconds. Here's where Anime Expo's manipulation gets truly sinister. They've created a digital Hunger Games that happens before most people even wake up. And if you're not playing by their hidden rules, you've already lost your weekend. The autograph system is their masterpiece of engineered frustration and artificial scarcity. They make it sound simple in the promotional materials. Just show up and meet your favorite voice actors and artists. But the reality is a digital Hunger Games that happens at random times with zero advance notice. Some guests run lottery systems that they announce on obscure social media accounts at 3. Others open tiny time windows that close within minutes once a mysterious threshold gets hit, often as low as 50 spots for guests with millions of fans. What's particularly twisted is how they've moved the entire line into phones and apps while deliberately keeping this information hidden. Convention staff are trained to direct people away from physical queuing areas with vague responses about checking the app or following social media, but they never explain which apps or which accounts. Meanwhile, scalpers and resellers have figured out the system and are buying up slots to sell at massive markups on secondary markets. The cruelest part, they've moved the entire line into phones and apps, but they don't tell you this anywhere obvious. You'll see people wandering around the signing hall asking staff where to queue up, only to be told that the line doesn't exist in physical space anymore. It's all digital, it's all full, and it's been full since 6 a.m. when you were sleeping. This creates a secondary economy of desperation. People start stalking announcement accounts like stock traders, setting alarms for random hours, keeping their phones charged and ready to refresh pages faster than bots. This profits from this chaos because panicked fans will pay for premium experiences and VIP packages just to guarantee they won't get locked out of meeting their heroes. But even if you master the reservation game, they've got another trap waiting: the 18+ wristband system. Sounds simple enough, right? Show up, get a wristband, access mature content. Wrong. They create artificial scarcity by limiting when and where these bands get distributed. You'll find yourself sprinting across the entire convention center at 10:55 p.m. trying to reach a booth that stopped issuing wristbands 5 minutes earlier. This isn't poor planning, it's deliberate. They want you to grab that wristband during daylight hours when you could be spending money elsewhere. They want you to interrupt your schedule, abandon plans with friends, and prioritize their arbitrary distribution windows. Every minute you spend chasing their logistics is a minute you're not comparison shopping or thinking carefully about purchases. Now let's talk about their policies, the most underhanded system they run. Peace bonding exists for legitimate safety reasons, but AX has weaponized it into a cosplay destruction machine. They've created impossible standards that change depending on which staff member inspects your costume, and they give you about 30 seconds to prove your elaborate build meets their mysterious criteria. The real nightmare happens when they reject props that took months to create. There's no appeal process, no second opinion, no storage option. You either abandon your costume concept entirely or leave the convention. I've watched grown adults break down in tears as staff members with zero crafting experience declare their masterpiece builds unsafe based on arbitrary visual inspection. The peace bonding process is designed to be intimidating and rushed. Staff members are trained to look for problems, not solutions. They'll fail you for having realistic-looking weapons, then point to other attendees carrying identical props that somehow passed inspection with different staff. The inconsistency isn't accidental, it's a feature that keeps cosplayers anxious and compliant. They've also created geometry restrictions that make no sense for a convention space. Wings, sides, and large props that look incredible in photos become liability nightmares in their crowded hallways. But instead of designing better traffic flow or providing adequate space for elaborate costumes, they simply ban anything that might require them to think creatively about crowd management. The face identification rule is particularly cruel for masked characters. They demand instant face reveals at checkpoints, but many elaborate masks and helmets don't have quick release mechanisms. You're forced to choose between costume accuracy and the ability to move freely through the convention. Either way, you lose something you paid to experience. What makes this especially twisted is how they profit from the fear. Cosplay repair services, last-minute prop modifications, and simplified costume alternatives all generate revenue streams that wouldn't exist if their policies were clear and consistent from the start. They've turned costume anxiety into a business model. The hallway etiquette enforcement is the final layer of control. Staff members will stop elaborate cosplayers for safety checks that are really photo opportunities for their social media accounts. Then lecture the same people about blocking traffic. You're simultaneously too big for the space and too interesting not to exploit for content. But that wasn't the whole story. The reservation nightmares and prop politics are just warming up the real financial extraction machine. Next comes the LA Live money trap. The hotel, parking, and transportation schemes that can drain your wallet faster than any badge or ticket ever could. Now we're getting to the part where Anime Expo stops pretending to be a fan convention and reveals itself as a full-scale financial extraction operation. They've turned the entire LA Live district into a carefully orchestrated wallet-draining machine, and most attendees don't realize they're being systematically robbed until their bank account is empty. Let's start with the hotel scam that's been running for years. AX creates the illusion of helping fans by offering discounted room blocks at nearby hotels. Sounds great, right? You book early, get a good rate, stay close to the action. But here's what they don't tell you. They're actively working with hotels to manipulate availability and pricing throughout the booking season. Those sold-out weekend dates that force you to extend your stay and pay for extra nights you don't want, often completely artificial. Internal booking data shows hotels regularly hold back 30–40% of their inventory to create panic booking, then release rooms at inflated rates once people get desperate. That discounted block rate they advertise, industry analysis reveals it's frequently 20–30% higher than what you'd pay if you booked the same room 2 weeks before the convention when hotels start dumping unused inventory to fill capacity. The most egregious part is how they've created exclusive partnerships that artificially limit your options. Partner hotels get guaranteed minimum occupancy rates from AX, which means they have no incentive to offer competitive pricing. Meanwhile, better hotels just a few blocks away get zero promotion despite offering superior amenities at lower costs, simply because they're not part of AX's revenue-sharing agreements. But the real genius of their hotel scheme is how they trap you with location. They've positioned the official partner hotels as the only reasonable options, but many of these properties are outdated, overpriced, or have hidden fees that don't show up until checkout. Meanwhile, better hotels slightly further away get ignored because AX doesn't promote them, even though a 5-minute rideshare would save you hundreds of dollars. The parking situation is where their greed gets truly shameless. LACC garages run flat rate, no re-entry policies on event days. Pay once, stay all day, or pay again if you leave. Sounds fair until you realize this traps people into making terrible decisions about food, costumes, and social plans. You can't leave to grab a decent meal or change outfits without paying another full day's parking fee. This creates a captive audience for overpriced food vendors inside the convention center. That $30 lunch that tastes like cafeteria food, you're paying it because leaving and coming back would cost another $40 in parking. AX gets a cut of every food sale, so your parking imprisonment directly increases their revenue. The rideshare manipulation is particularly cruel during peak hours. They know exactly when panels end and crowds surge toward exits. But instead of managing traffic flow, they let chaos build around pickup zones. This creates artificial surge pricing that can turn a normal $10 ride into a $60 nightmare. The solution is always to walk several blocks away from the convention center, but they don't want you to know this because those surge fees help justify their transportation partnership. Off-site venues are another layer of the money trap. Major concerts and special screenings happen in nearby theaters with completely separate security, bag policies, and access rules. This means you're not just dealing with one venue's logistics, you're navigating multiple facilities with different restrictions, different costs, and different ways to fail. They schedule these off-site events back-to-back with convention programming, knowing it's physically impossible to attend both. This forces people to choose between experiences they've already paid for or attempt impossible rushes between venues that usually end in missed events and wasted tickets. Either way, AX wins because you've paid for more than you can consume. The real cruelty is in how they handle event timing across their campus. A panel ending at 2:55 p.m. and an off-site concert starting at 3:00 p.m. isn't poor scheduling, it's intentional overbooking. They want you to buy tickets to conflicting events because they know most people will try to attend both and fail. Those rush transitions through security checkpoints, across busy streets, and into different buildings are designed to eat your time and test your limits. Hotel elevator systems become another stress point. They refuse to optimize. Major partner hotels have 2 elevator banks, but AX doesn't provide clear guidance about which bank serves which floors or how to avoid peak congestion times. You'll spend 20 minutes waiting for elevators during rush periods when a simple map or sign could have solved the problem. The most insidious part is how they profit from your exhaustion and confusion. When you're tired, lost, and running late, you make expensive decisions. You'll pay surge pricing instead of walking. You'll buy overpriced food instead of leaving. You'll book premium hotel services instead of roughing it. Every moment of chaos they create converts directly into revenue. Room service, laundry fees, parking extensions, rideshare surges, rushed food purchases, premium event tickets bought in panic, it all adds up to hundreds of dollars in expenses that wouldn't exist if AX actually cared about attendee experience over profit extraction. But that wasn't the whole story. The transportation and hotel schemes are just setting you up for the final phase of their operation. The health and safety negligence that puts your body at risk, and the merchandise manipulation tactics that target your wallet when you're most vulnerable. Here's where Anime Expo's profit over people philosophy becomes genuinely dangerous. They've systematically eliminated basic human necessities from their venue to force you into overpriced alternatives, and their complete disregard for attendee health borders on criminal negligence. The water situation is the most egregious example of how they weaponize basic survival needs. LSCC has deliberately reduced the number of functional water fountains throughout the building, leaving thousands of dehydrated attendees with 2 choices: pay inflated prices for bottled water from approved vendors, or risk serious health complications. Former maintenance staff revealed that several fountains are intentionally kept out of order during major conventions to drive beverage sales. Those tiny water bottles that cost $5 inside the convention center, they're the same bottles available for 50 cents at grocery stores 2 blocks away, but AX has created exclusive vendor agreements that eliminate competition and lock in predatory pricing. Meanwhile, they blast air conditioning at Arctic levels in some areas and cut it entirely in others, creating artificial temperature stress that increases dehydration rates. The food access manipulation goes far beyond simple overpricing. They've created deliberate nutritional deprivation to weaken your decision-making abilities. Fast food vendors inside the center offer mostly sugar, salt, and processed carbs that create energy crashes within hours. Meanwhile, healthier options are either prohibitively expensive or located in areas that require leaving and re-entering multiple security checkpoints. This isn't accidental menu planning. Hungry, dehydrated, and sugar-crashed attendees make impulsive purchasing decisions and have reduced ability to negotiate or comparison shop. They've literally engineered malnutrition as a sales strategy. And most fans don't realize their weekend brain fog is artificially induced by deliberate food restriction tactics. The exhibit hall itself is a masterclass in psychological manipulation designed to extract maximum spending from vulnerable attendees. They use casino-style layout principles to disorient visitors and eliminate exit visibility. Once you enter the dealer's room, clear sight lines to exits disappear behind strategically placed booth walls and promotional displays. This creates a trapped feeling that encourages might as well buy something now impulse purchases. Vendor booth placement isn't random, it's psychological warfare. High-demand, limited edition merchandise gets placed in dead-end corners that require walking past hundreds of other vendors to reach. By the time you've navigated the maze to reach that exclusive figure you wanted, you've been exposed to dozens of other limited-time offers designed to trigger fear of missing out purchasing. The artificial scarcity manipulation reaches peak cruelty during Sunday's last chance sales blitz. Vendors coordinate simultaneous final-hour discounts that create panic buying frenzies among exhausted attendees who've spent 3 days being systematically depleted of energy, money, and rational thinking capacity. These aren't genuine clearance sales, they're predatory extraction tactics targeting people at their most vulnerable psychological state. Payment processing becomes another revenue stream through deliberate technical failures. Card readers mysteriously malfunction more frequently during peak sales periods, forcing customers toward cash-only vendors that charge convenience fees or ATMs with inflated service charges. Industry insiders confirmed these payment issues are often software-controlled and timed to maximize fee revenue during high-traffic periods. The badge security theater serves dual purposes: intimidation and data collection. Those random badge checks aren't about security. They're about conditioning attendees to accept invasive monitoring and creating opportunities for staff to identify high-spending individuals for targeted sales approaches. Attendees who display expensive merchandise or costumes get flagged for follow-up marketing through social media tracking and email campaigns. Medical emergencies reveal their complete disregard for human welfare. First aid stations are understaffed and under-equipped, while medical emergencies that could be handled on-site instead result in expensive ambulance rides that attendees have to pay for. They've created liability structures that prioritize protecting AX from lawsuits over actually helping injured attendees, and their insurance policies specifically exclude coverage for convention-related health problems. The most sinister aspect is their after-hours rule enforcement, targeting exhausted attendees who are most likely to make compliance mistakes. Badge revocation threats become powerful psychological weapons used to extract last-minute payments, force costly rule violations, corrections, or eliminate people who might complain about safety violations they've witnessed. Sunday night becomes their final extraction opportunity. As attendees prepare to leave, they face deliberate baggage check delays, parking fee surprises, and last-chance merchandise pushes that target people who are physically and emotionally drained from days of systematic exploitation. They know you're too tired to argue, too depleted to negotiate, and too eager to leave to fight back against obviously unfair charges. The exit surveys and feedback requests aren't about improving future events. They're about identifying attendees who noticed the manipulation tactics so they can refine their systems to be less obvious next year. Every complaint becomes data they use to make their exploitation more sophisticated and harder to detect. What makes this entire operation particularly evil is how they target the most vulnerable attendees. Young fans spending their first major convention money, people with social anxiety who avoid confrontation, international visitors unfamiliar with consumer protection laws, and anyone dealing with mental health challenges that affect their ability to advocate for themselves. AX has built their entire business model around exploiting people who trust them to provide a fair and safe experience. They've turned what should be a celebration of shared interests into a systematic extraction machine that leaves attendees financially drained, physically compromised, and emotionally exhausted. The real tragedy isn't just the money they steal, it's how they've corrupted the entire convention experience and made it impossible for many fans to participate in the community they love without risking financial ruin or health complications.